Alright everyone, welcome back to Nintendo Enthusiast Radio. I'm Dakota, here with my co-host Anthony.
How's it going?
And Eli.
Gotta catch them all!
You guys, I'm gonna just have to say, by the way, this your catchphrase is not A+. I want to see more.
I thought "How's it going" is pretty original, but alright.
You didn't you do Howdy Doody for the last one or
I
something?
did Heidi Ho.
Oh, okay, same thing, whatever. So today we're talking about one of our favorite developers here at Nintendo Enthusiast, Retro Studios, known for working on the Metroid Prime series and then recently Donkey Kong Country Returns and the upcoming Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. But we're going to talk about, after they're done with Freeze, or Tropical Freeze that is, which comes out this month, what project will they be going on to? Have they even started one with Tropical Freeze, going on shows pretty soon? What do you guys think? We're going to be trying to speculate on what Retro should be working on next. I'm going to say that it should be a Metroid game, and anybody, that wants to see more Metroid from Retro is obviously going to say that. But maybe they want to see something, work on something new. So I'm going to throw it over to Anthony. Anthony, what do you think? What do you think Retro should do next?
What do I want the most?
What do you want the most? If Retro could make anything you would want, what do you want?
Well, I'd love to see them tackle a completely original project to see, because they have very creative minds, so I'd love to see what they can do, totally from scratch. But if it has to be another Nintendo IP, I want Star Fox. I want to see what they can do to Star Fox.
Star Fox, that's a good pick. Now, should they do like an old Star Fox, like Star Fox 64, the original, or should they do like Adventure? Something new, like Star Fox Command.
I think they've so far shown how versatile they are. They made 3 amazing first-person adventure games, not first-person shooters, and they've also made an amazing platformer. So I think they could go for a aerial combat dogfight Star Fox game, full-fledged like 64. I'd love to see it.
That would be really cool. Eli, what do you think?
So coming up next, I'd be willing to bet that Metroid is going to be the next game they release. I'd be willing to bet. And I'm pretty certain that it'll be out by the end of 2014, if not beginning of 2015.
They said, I believe they said it was between Tropical Freeze or another Metroid for their next game.
Yeah, and the thing is, every week or two we see new Retro hirings. Like even today or yesterday, 3 new people that are looking at Retro. I'm pretty, 95% certain they've got 2 teams working there. Maybe one team larger than the other, or they fluctuate, or, whatever. But I'm pretty certain that Metroid is, a pretty good ways along. I don't think that they're, only now starting it. I don't think that they're starting it right after Tropical Freeze. I think that they started it a while ago. And, you see evidence from Reggie's Metroid Pin, or you got all these sleazy comments from Iwata and Miyamoto through interviews. I'm pretty certain that they're already working on it. So this begs the question, what's after that? I'd be happy with another Donkey Kong game in another 2 or 3 years. I know I'm in the minority on that one, but I love Donkey Kong so much. What they did with Donkey Kong Country Returns, the platforming was just so good. There was a great difficulty curve. Some levels had good amount of challenge, so many collectibles, so much style.
So you say Retro's so creative, so you're telling me that you think after all these years, Retro's going to probably go back to the 1 or 2 franchises they've ever touched, and you don't think they're going to want to branch out more?
See, that's my problem.
All right, and Metroid, I could see Metroid maybe just because they had another game to work on in between, that's fine. But to go back to DK again after people didn't think that they were going to do Tropical Freeze in the first place, I don't know.
I guess I should clarify my position, because with DK, I guess that's what I'd like to see preferable to the other series, because, I'm going to get mauled by this. I don't like Metroid. Not too big of a fan of Star Fox either. Those are, the 2 franchises that I'm not too hyped about.
So you don't like sci-fi?
So, yeah, just kill it all. No, I have some issues with Metroid in the backtracking department, and I just didn't really find the appeal. And Star Fox, it just never appealed to me either. But, just knowing from how versatile they are, as previously mentioned, I'd like to see them work on a new IP, as Anthony mentioned. They need to work on... Nintendo needs new things coming out. You got Miyamoto's new IP. I don't know, might be an eShop game for all we know. He said he wants to work on smaller things.
Do we really need like new IPs? Okay, here's I'm gonna be maybe devil's advocate here, but I think I play Nintendo mostly for the franchises, not because they come out with new stuff. But there's so many Nintendo franchises that they don't use like well enough. Why don't they bring those back instead of dedicating resources to coming up with a new thing? There's F-Zero's waiting in the wings. Ice Climber could maybe use a new game. Excite Bike could use a
Ice
new
Climber
game.
Needs a new game?
Fighter, whatever. Game & Watch. I would love a new Game & Watch collection.
Dakota, I couldn't agree more. My very first article for Nintendo Enthusiast was about exactly that. They need
why is everyone so worried about the Nintendo creating like new stuff? Like, I'm gonna say I'll buy the same Nintendo game a lot of times because I really like Nintendo games and I buy it for those specific franchises. But I also buy Nintendo games because they come out with some of the not as mainstream things like F-Zero. They may not sell as well, but there's a huge fan base. Like, Nintendo fans are raving for these kinds of games, and Nintendo could easily include them in new releases without having to worry about coming out with a new creative strategy, or the gamers just want games.
Like, I also just feel they haven't even scratched the surface with most of their franchises.
Yeah.
They can still go in so many
Some
new directions.
franchises have one or two maybe games.
And they can take an old franchise, do something so new with it that it feels like a new IP.
Yeah, exactly. Some people who haven't even played the franchise before, they wouldn't even know the difference.
I agree with you guys that they could go back to a lot of these older franchises. I mean, Kid Icarus, it was great after so many years.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know. I just look at the existing market, and all they need is one game that's gonna sell gangbusters. And you look at it, and you got Star Fox, Metroid, whatever. They don't sell all that great. I think Metroid sold something like 1.5 million this last one that came out. Or Other M sold like 1.5 million. Prime 3 sold like 1.5 million. These aren't highly selling games, and I'm just thinking that instead of if there hasn't been a game in a franchise that hasn't come out in 25 years, I don't know if it's going to sell any better. So I'm thinking you might as well just start something new, get some hype about it. I don't think they went about it right with the Wonderful 101. Some people are going to say, well, they put out Wonderful 101, it failed them. I don't think they did well with that. I don't think they marketed that correctly. I don't think the game style markets itself well for new people. But I feel like they need to take some risks, and as I said, it really only takes one game. For Wii, it was Wii Sports. Minecraft is that game for a lot of people. When it just where it's just gonna sell so much where it's gonna make a difference.
Okay, so what if Retro was dedicated to make a free-to-play MOBA for Nintendo characters, sort of like League of Legends? Why? All right, this becomes less of a retro thing, and just why isn't Nintendo doing this? Because Riot's making boatloads of money off of original characters, and people would totally play a MOBA with Nintendo characters for free and buy skins with all these characters. Like that, I would do that about 10 times over. As far as retro is concerned, I think it's definitely a good idea for them to stick to franchises that people are used to, because people are really familiar with retro games, and it's a really a name that they can trust with these kinds of games. I think it'll be less about who's developing the games and what, or instead it'll be about what can retro do with the franchise. Like Anthony's saying, like maybe it'll be a new installment for the franchise that will be unlike anything else. And that's what retro could possibly do with it, an F-Zero or a Game & Watch, or something even more obscure than that. Maybe Nintendo could bring a Japanese-only Nintendo title from back in the day, I can't think of one, and, reinvent it for, 2014. Either way, there's too many things for Nintendo to not pull into, and for Retro's, creative capacity to not utilize it. If they don't want to do that, they can easily come out with Metroid Prime 2, or Metroid Prime Hunters 2 for the Wii U. That would be really sick, with some online multiplayer, or a sequel to Metroid Fusion, because they've left that storyline hanging for like a decade now.
Here's the interesting one. Would you guys mind if, just theoretically, they're not, but if they were to do the next Zelda game?
Oh, I don't know how I feel about that one. Eli, let me hear.
bringing some Western influence to Zelda? Are we against that?
I don't know. I don't think I'd be against it per se, but I don't think I'd be like completely bad. I don't know. It's like testing the waters. But, you know, considering they've been so successful with everything else they've done, even though I'm not a fan of Metroid, there are so many other people that are, I don't think they could necessarily screw it up, but just based on the fact that all the other ones have turned out so well coming out from Tokyo, I don't know if it's one of those things where if it's not broken, why fix it?
Then again, I wouldn't say that I would be against it just because, you know, Retro made Metroid Prime one of Nintendo's best games, you know, one of the best Metroid games. I don't know, I feel like Retro could do some really cool things with Legend of Zelda.
I agree.
Almost maybe in a Wind Waker kind of way, not like cel shaded, but like in a kind of way that people, you know, may not accept it first, but, you know, they'll learn to love it the same kind of way that, you know, when people saw Metroid going to first person, they're like, oh, I don't know how that's going to be. I don't know. I like my Metroid flat in 2D. And then it turned out to be a really great series. So I think Retro is really good at taking these franchises and taking them in a new way, or just making them fun without really losing what that game series is about. You know, Donkey Kong Country Returns is a great example of that. So I think I would trust them with a Zelda game. I would say I'm all about that.
Once again, we agree. Yeah, completely.
So pretty much in the end, we have
Yes.
no idea what they're going to work on next, other than Metroid as the general consensus. But after that, you know, we don't really have much else to go off of. But we'd be okay with them doing Zelda-ish. But thanks everyone for listening. Make sure to keep tuned for later this week for another episode.